yourself in, but they are ruthless, hungry and in power again.
Hello, gamers, and welcome to a special episode of Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die. Not a threat.
Just a fact.
I'm going to edit out that space. Okay. No, I'm going to say I'm going to edit out the space and then leave it there because it's funnier.
Just make it longer.
Everyone forgot the thing we say. This is Leftism for Dumbasses by the Extremely Online, doing a special episode about our Ontario election just because we happen to have a lot of hosts that live in Ontario. So we'll do our introductions.
I'm Linus, aka Doug Funny Ford.
I'm Television's Dave Coulier. It's nice to meet you. They can figure it out. They can find out who I am. It's a fun game for the show.
Andy, no one knows who you are because
I know I'm never on here.
No one knows anyway.
That's the secret, Captain. I'm never here. That's the line, right? He calls him Captain. His full title.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes.
Okay. Hey, what's up?
Right.
I'm like a deer in the headlights right now.
My name's Evan, a.k.a. Doug E. Fresh Ford.
Glad we have two Doug Fords. Hi, I'm Matt, also known as Kathleen Luz.
You stole mine! You stole mine!
Oh,
Man!
that's funny, dude.
I'm gonna have to go with a Canadian offshoot. That's fine.
You got it. Anyway, I have a special guest on the episode this week. We were going to get Emma on a couple of weeks ago when that whole, fucking incel shit went down. Well, I mean, incel shit's always going down, but,
Yep.
the Toronto one.
Yeah.
I thought the problem was that they don't do that.
Go down?
See, I feel like they'd be a lot better off if they just learned how to eat some puss.
I haven't heard about that. That guy, is he... What's going on? Are they having a trial? I mean...
Probably.
I guess. I feel like I just...
Jordan Peterson will probably be his lawyer, even though he's not a lawyer.
Yeah, I just stopped hearing about that because, we have to just move on to the next horrible thing.
Oh, because there was, 2 incel killings in the States, the next week. Anyway, how does it feel? We're on an episode with 0 Americans right now.
Good.
It feels good.
Yeah.
I like to hear it. So we're talking about the Ontario election. We're recording this on Tuesday. Ideally, I'm getting it out on Wednesday. I really hope I don't manage to fuck that up too badly. Because I am editing this week, and I haven't edited in a long time.
And Election Day is Thursday.
Election Day is indeed Thursday, which is the day we normally record our episodes, which is why we're not just doing this as part of the episode. So this is just going to be a kind of a side segment to make up for the fact that we only record once a week, so it's kind of hard to stay topical sometimes.
Wait, Matt.
Yeah.
Can I do my new nickname?
Yes.
All right, I'm Emma, a.k.a. more like Borden J. Peterson.
Nice.
Got him.
Got him.
Wait, like Bobby Borden?
Yeah, see, the thing about Robert Borden is that he's a piece of shit, but at least he was cool, in which Jordan Peterson sounds like Kermit the fucking Frog.
He sounds so much like Kermit the Frog. No matter if you've never heard his voice, even if you think it's a joke, it's not. He just sounds exactly like Kermit the Frog.
There's a Muppet video where they, superimposed his voice over it, talking about the whole cleaning your room thing. It's not bad.
Can we pay Jordan B. Peterson to sing the Rainbow Connection?
Jordan's B. Peterson, you know? Anyway, so we wanted to just start this off with just a quick discussion of, hey, how does the Canadian parliamentary system work at all? Because I've found that whenever I try to talk about Canadian politics with a lot of Americans around, it's like it is talking to Americans about anything that isn't American, in that it's impossible.
The only thing Americans understand about elections is that you're basically electing a king of the country.
Yeah, we have God King Trudeau who buys pipelines.
Yeah. Which we kind of do here in Canada now. I mean...
Well, so, the thing about Trudeau is that he wants to be just like his good friends, the Saudis.
Yep. Okay, can we make that picture the episode art?
Which one?
The
one, Justin Trudeau picture?
The one that Stephanie just posted where, hang on, just look in politics.
I will look into politics.
And it's, just scroll up until you see it.
I don't like that.
Yeah, we should.
I really don't like
it
it.
should be the episode art.
At the very least, I'm posting on the Tumblr because we discussed it. I'm contractually obligated to post it on the Tumblr.
Oh, I hate it.
Just
Oh.
It's Justin Trudeau lovingly holding the province of British Columbia, who is crying and says, "But you said you loved me," and he's saying, "Just saying that so I could lay some pipe in you," because he wants to put a pipeline there.
I'm sick.
Oh, that's funny.
It's very bad. It's bad, and I don't like to see it. So essentially, I honestly don't understand for the most part how the American system is, so I'm not going to do this as like a comparative thing.
Yeah.
But we elect members of the provincial parliament in our provincial elections. Provinces are like states, but there's a difference, and I don't know what it is because I'm a dumbass.
Ontario's New York. BC is California. Alberta is Texas. Quebec is.
No, BC is Seattle.
Quebec is Quebec.
Quebec is Quebec. There's no equivalent to Quebec.
But yeah, BC is very Washington. Like they
well,
have some California in them in that they're
Vancouver's like LA though.
I mean,
No,
Seattle.
British
Vancouver,
Columbia is
Vancouver's very
just
Seattle.
It's
It's
literally just an
Toronto
extension
is.
of the
Toronto is
Pacific
LA
Northwest.
to me.
I think Toronto's like New York and LA.
Which is Toronto or Vancouver the more nightmarish city to try to do anything
Toronto.
in? Because that's what LA
Toronto.
is.
Well, I remember one time they did yoga on the street in Vancouver,
I do remember that.
and that everyone
a
was like,
super
"This is the
Portland
most
thing,
the
though.
most Vancouver thing ever."
That
I
sounds
feel
like
like
a
we
very
should just take the whole Pacific Northwest and just like Bugs Bunny saw it off the
Yeah.
side of the country and just let it float into the ocean.
Well, Matt, you said
I mean, we should also just do that along the 49th parallel.
Yeah.
You know.
Matt, you said we were going to talk about how the Canadian Parliament system works, but if you ask me, it doesn't work at all. Am I right, folks?
Folks,
Gamers.
Folks.
So essentially, we elect our members of provincial parliament, which are local representation who almost always represent one of the major political parties, of which Ontario has 3, but 4 if you want to be inclusive.
Yeah,
Right, that's right, because you got that 1 trillion party guy there now, right?
yeah, and I've been
Oh yeah, there is a trillion.
and
party
I've been
guy in-
seeing some signs for something
See, the
new.
thing about there's the if we're gonna talk fringe parties, we should do it first, so we don't
Yeah.
have to bring them up later. Trillium Party is are they the ones that are just like social conservatives?
They're like the Wild
essentially.
Rose in
Something like
Alberta. Yeah.
Oh, there was an extremely nice article by Mr. David Popescu, who is running fucking again. Hey, you remember
I
this
thought
guy?
he was in prison.
He went to
He
prison
was.
for assaulting his mother, and he
sorry.
got
His
out.
mother.
And yeah, like for listeners who didn't go to high school in Sudbury, David
I
Popescu.
didn't. I know him.
David Popescu once was doing like he's like lunatic, and like he's way beyond the fringe. Anyway, when he was doing a speech at like Sudbury Secondary School, a high school, someone asked him about gay people, and he just straight up said they should be executed. So like that's him. And he's running again, and the Sudbury Star, I guess, was like the local paper was like obliged to run an article that he wrote.
Yeah, they literally have to by the policies.
But
set
they
out.
did their absolute best to make him sound as fucking buck wild out there as possible. I think their headline for that article was like "God will vomit us up into the land" or something like that.
Yeah, it was.
Pick the wildest quote and stick it to the top so that we...
This is like the most niche thing possible.
Can
Like
somebody
David
link me
Popescu
to this?
references.
Apparently, at one point, he used to like leave DVDs of him reading the Bible in the dark on
Yep.
people's windshields.
Yeah.
See, like essentially what he does is he runs in every single election.
We have a guy
Usually
like that
gets,
here
like,
in
So
Barrie,
he runs in.
actually.
He ran for mayor. He ran in the last federal election. He ran in the last provincial election. I don't know where he gets the money for this,
I mean, yeah.
He
but he
doesn't
manages
really...
to like put up the fees every time to run as an independent in every election, and he always gets the same odd 160 votes.
Yeah, something like that. Who
actually-
even is that? Like, just similarly incredibly hateful people?
yeah,
Must
more
be.
or less.
What he does is
other-
he goes and he says, "My name is Pavid Dopescu, and I would like to place 100 votes."
Yeah, so parties, other parties that have candidates that don't have any currently represented in the legislature. So essentially, once you elect a member of provincial parliament, they are your local representative, and then they are also a seat to the governing party. So it's a lot like how the Senate and whatnot works in the states. I suppose. I guess it's more like the House
Sort
of
of Congress
Representatives in that
person
it's
as
more-
well. Like,
It's more like the British model, isn't it?
yeah.
It well, yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
like, so,
but
like, yeah.
Americans don't know shit about fuck, and they're most of our audience.
Yeah.
So people who are not represented in the legislature but are running candidates in the election, the other parties that are actually there's not really many parties that are worth mention. The Green Party is one because they run in every election pretty much.
I can give you
They field candidates across the board, and then no matter where they're running, they only ever seem to be able to elect their leader, except in BC.
Yeah.
In British Columbia, they have 3 people elected, and they are the balance of power in a minority government. A minority government is what happens when you win the most seats, but not a majority of the seats.
Yep.
So you essentially need someone else to join with you to pass any legislation.
Actually, the Ontario Green Party's leader is in my riding, like my home in Barrie. And
Really?
they are definitely not going to elect her. It's her and the other deputy leader, a guy named
Oh, is it the deputy leader that's winning?
there's
Because he's doing very well in his riding.
There's like 2 people right here. There's a guy named like Keenan Alwyn or something like that, and he's in Barrie, I think. And
I've
then
heard
No,
that
no, yeah,
name.
it's Mike Schreiner is the leader of the Ontario Greens, and he is like, he's been polling better and better as the days have gone by.
Wait, then why did
And
it-
essentially, if he were to grab the Liberal votes, he would win his seat.
Wait, I'm incredibly confused now because I was at the All Candidates debate in my riding a couple of days ago, and Bonnie North said that she was the deputy leader of the Green Party.
Yeah, deputy leader is a position in
Oh,
Ontario
wait,
politics.
I'm dumb as fuck. I thought that meant that she was temporarily replacing
No,
him. She's just the backup
deputy
leader.
leader is someone who would be the temporary leader if the leader were to leave for any reason.
Okay, never mind. I'm
But
incredibly
often
stupid.
they're just they're a strong position within the party. For example, Jagmeet Singh was the deputy leader of the Ontario NDP before
Okay.
he left for the federal party.
Fair. Okay, so yeah, never mind. Then it's the deputy leader who's running in my riding. Never mind.
Yeah, so the actual leader is possibly poised to win his seat.
You can just
another
edit
party-
me out there.
Another party that I thought was really interesting was the Consensus Ontario Party.
That's the one. The
who's, like-
signs I keep seeing.
Yes, there are a lot of they're fielding candidates in like 12 ridings, and their entire thing is let's abolish parties and have a system that's more like the territory legislature, in which like it's local representation, and you have to essentially come to a consensus, so it's not just a bunch of partisan bickering. And I could kind of go for that.
I thought it was more like a direct democracy.
Well, that's the idea, right?
Yeah.
Like it's still representative democracy, but they're not beholden to a party.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then, yeah, the Trillium Party does have 1 seat right now, and it's someone who just floor crossed from the Conservatives. And they are known, their ideology is right-wing populism, so yeah, that's what they do.
It's great.
Whatever happened to the
Out
Rhinoceros
of the
Party?
Is what? The Rhinoceros Party does not exist anymore, as far as I can tell.
They exist as a Quebec-only federal party, actually. Like, they run, like, a handful of candidates every year in Quebec, but they don't win anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, they used to have candidates in other ridings, but as far as I could tell, they have dissolved since 2011 because they did field, like, they had a whole platform set up where they would help people run, and I was very strongly considering running for the Rhinoceros Party in Sudbury.
I
That
remember
would've been
this.
extremely funny.
I remember you talking about it.
Because essentially what they were doing is you would field the $1,000 fee up front, and then if you did all your paperwork, you'd get it back from them. And I think that this probably just didn't work out well for them because they are essentially dissolved, and their website has been replaced by like a generic political blog.
Yeah, we have one other party here that's kind of interesting to me. Like, they're not going to win anything, so I'll go quickly as possible. But we've got a group here called the Canadians' Choice Party, where they just let their members make up their own platform for each riding that they're in.
Yeah, I love their ideology on Wikipedia is listed as libertarian conservatism and right-wing populism. So
Right.
we know what choices they're going to make.
Yep.
Yeah. The guy their leader didn't show up to the debate, but he gave his opening and closing statements to the moderator to read. And it was a very strange experience.
I still can't believe there's a Northern Ontario party that's founding tenet is separatism.
It's incredible.
It's very good. But yeah, that's on the fringe. So, unlike the United States, which has a right party and a really right party, we have the opportunity to have a center-left party, a right party, and a really right party.
Yeah.
Things are so much better here.
Yeah, we have a slight increase in that we have 3 major political parties. I've been talking a lot, so I kind of wanted someone else to field one of these. Evan, you work for the NDP. Talk about the NDP.
Yeah.
All right. The NDP is essentially like the closest thing that we have to a quote unquote socialist party. But they've been social democrats since I want to say the early 2000s, and they like I guess the main thing that they go for is sort of they're I guess slightly to the right of Bernie is where I put them, and they're most of their
right.
Yeah, most of their policies are like, your standard social democrat stuff. They want to expand the welfare state that we have in Canada, or at least what's left of it. They want to establish, because the free healthcare that, gets talked about a lot is actually a provincial thing for the American listeners. It's not like, pardon?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's like, it's not done by it's done by each individual province, sort of like if a state was doing it. And so they're trying to expand that right now. That's one of their big goals, is trying to expand, I think, like pharmacare and the healthcare, pharmacare and dental care are the 2 big things they're trying to expand right now. Those are the 2 like main policy planks that they've got going, and at least those are the 2 that I've been told to push. And actually, edit me saying that out. Anyway, and it's basically, they're just, kind of standard social democracy parties. If anybody's aware of the way politics work in Europe, they're like the sort of, any of like the iterations of the SDF, the Social Democratic Party, they're all kind of like that.
Then we got our Progressive Conservative Party, which is just a really funny name.
Oxymoron.
I really just love the idea of calling themselves the Progressive Conservatives. Mind you, there was a point where the Progressive Conservatives weren't like a strictly populist party.
Did they not merge with a more far right
That
party?
was federally.
There was the Reform Party at one point.
That's why it's the
Canadian
PCs
Alliance.
provincially, but just the Conservatives federally, is because they're not actually the same party.
Oh,
Yeah.
We don't
didn't
have
know
a
that.
quote conservative party in Ontario right now. We have just the Progressive Conservatives, which don't exist nationally. Or
Yeah,
federally,
because
rather.
what happened is they got fucking routed in the 1993 election and were knocked down to 2 candidates. And most of the Conservative seats were taken by the Reform Party, and the Bloc Québécois, a separatist Quebec party, was the official opposition.
Oh, man.
The year of my
That was
birth.
a fucking hell. Yeah, that was a hell of an
man.
I
election.
heralded that.
Yeah, it was all you.
All me.
God. And then, of course, we have the Liberals, which are much like the Liberals federally in that they're a lot of talk, and populist right-wingers call them communists, and God, I fucking wish.
Yeah.
Also, they're going to lose so many fucking seats, and they're going to lose major party status, and that's extremely funny to me.
Yep.
It's really good.
I'm really amped for Kathleen
Okay,
Wynne to not win her own seat.
More like Kathleen
Lose.
It's more like Kathleen lose.
Can we talk about Kathleen Wynne, like, conceding
Kathleen
and, like,
losing?
talking... Kathleen
Yeah,
lose.
no, we...
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
horrified
let's go there
about that.
next.
Oh, sorry, super quick. Fruit Selector wants to know what major party status entails. Mainly it means if you only have, like, I think it's under 12?
It's 8.
Yeah.
8
It's
seats,
8
thank you.
seats.
8 seats, you don't, if you have under that number, you don't get to have your party name listed, and you sit as an independent, and you don't get to caucus and stuff like that.
It's like Elizabeth May.
I think there's monetary stuff as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was 107 seats last election. This election, there's 124 seats in the Legislative Assembly. So you have to fuck up real bad.
Yeah, they just nailed a bunch of chairs to the walls and stuff so they could, fit the seating room in.
Yeah. There's just a couple couches in there now.
Yeah. Northern Ontario gets some lounge seats.
Yeah, I want to just do a little chat about our specific ridings, because all of us actually happen to sit in different ridings, even the 2 of us that are in Sudbury, although we'll take point for Linus a little bit on that because he had been in Nickel Belt his entire life prior to relatively recently. When did you move into that place?
I moved in 2013, but it's very, an informal. Like, I didn't change my address or anything.
It wasn't your address yet.
So I guess this finally caught up with me, because all this time I've been driving back out to Levac to vote.
Sudbury has 2 ridings, one that's Sudbury, and then one that's literally everything around Sudbury,
Yeah.
and also encompassing some random parts of Sudbury, including the part where my dad lives, which is why I vote there. Or rather, why I voted there, because I voted early because I'm smart.
Nice, same.
Which, like, that's something that always, like, weirds me out about the States, is just, like, what, you weren't able to vote on your election day, and it's like, okay, I get, like, no companies are really giving leave for that, but it's like we get like 5 advance voting days where the polls are open for like 14 hours.
Yeah.
You just scroll
Like an
into,
aggressively
like, a gym,
long time.
You just scroll into like a gym or something, and they're like, there's never anyone there, so you just walk right through.
They're always so fucking bored and excited to see a person that wants to vote.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about our own ridings. And Andy, you're in New? That's your riding.
Yes.
So I think that's pretty much been a conservative stronghold for 100 million years.
No, pretty much. It's a nightmare. I hate it here.
I'm gonna quickly bring up their stats from the last election. Oh, apparently it is a liberal currently.
Yeah, I don't.
Chris Ballard.
But
he's not gonna win.
He's not gonna win.
And very likely the conservative candidate's gonna win, because the conservative candidate had it for every other election.
Yeah, and
man, looking at this right now, I'm just seeing 2007 electoral reform referendum. I didn't know we had this because I'm young.
You're young.
Yeah, I mean we're all young here. Andy, how old are you? I forget.
I'm 24.
Okay, literally everyone here is younger than me, and this was in 2007. There was an electoral reform referendum where we could have gotten rid of first past the post, which is the electoral system that the States also uses, and replaced it with a mixed member proportional system, which would be actually good.
Yep.
Aren't you glad that we weren't of age to vote when this happened?
Yeah.
I love to be 9 years old
Yep.
when all the important things happened.
Yeah, that just seems like it's the way.
How old was I? 15?
So like what? Yeah, like Andy, what do you see like sign wise like around the city?
Oh,
like,
it's all fucking PC signs. I live in on the border of a bougie neighborhood too, so like I'm in the like, oh, these houses are nice looking, but they're also very much smaller area, and when I take my dog for a walk down the neighborhood and we get like any further in, there's just all these big houses and 100 fucking PC party signs.
My next door neighbor has 3 PC signs in his yard, and it's just they're the only PC signs I've seen other than like a few outside of businesses.
Yeah, because Troy
almost every PC sign I see is on public land.
Yeah.
Because isn't like Troy Crowder like a former NHL hockey player, and
Some
that's
shit.
it?
Yeah.
He's really fucking dumb too. He just like said this whole long speech about how real ghosts are.
Oh, that was him?
That was him.
Oh my god.
He's not gonna get it.
It's so good.
I'm mad he's in the bad party. That's a great thing to be passionate about.
I agree.
Pokemon are real.
Ghosts are real.
Ghosts are real.
No, ghosts.
Yo,
Chandelure is real and strong, and he is my friend.
Y'all mind if I
I
believe
guess
in
that's
ghosts?
I guess that's why I've been kind of pessimistic this election cycle, because I've only seen conservative signs. I've seen like 2 NDP signs, and those were on public land here.
Yeah, the rough thing is the GTA is very conservative leaning for some fucking reason.
Yeah.
Because
Like
old
that
Doug
actually
Jones
that actually
there.
segues really nicely to something that Emma was talking about with me yesterday. Emma, you want to talk about Scarborough?
Oh, do I fucking ever? What specifically?
The one thing that really struck me about what like the long rant you posted in my Twitter DMs, was the stuff about transit and how everyone wants to vote conservative despite the fact that they're not going to get fuck all.
Oh yeah, so I mean, the whole thing with living in Scarborough, for any Americans who don't know, Scarborough, popularized by Drake, the Bare Naked Ladies, unfortunately Paul Bernardo, and it's a suburb.
And Orphan Black.
Orphan Black.
We
Okay,
got a good
okay,
thing.
there we go. And It used to be a suburb of the GTA, but Mike Harris came in and amalgamation happened, so now we're actually part of Toronto. We're not our own city anymore. But basically what happened after that happened was there was, this huge instance of white flight, people leaving Scarborough en masse when immigrants started arriving. And it's a very, not all areas of Scarborough, but the majority. Grew up in Scarborough, it's very impoverished, and it's very, it's very populated by visible minorities. So, I mean, like, the predominant language in my writing it's actually 38.1% speak only Chinese and 31% speak English. So, I mean, English isn't even our predominant language there. But I think what, like, the problem is that once we amalgamated into Toronto, we absorbed the Toronto transit system. And because Scarborough is such a poor and impoverished area, we get fuck all in terms of transit. A former mayor, David Miller, had actually a really good transit plan that was going to improve things for Scarborough. But Rob Ford, brother of Doug Ford, may he not rest in peace, he, as soon as he got into office, he cut all the transit plans. He went on some rant about how he went out to Scarborough, talked to people, and they all told him that they want subways. No one in Scarborough said that. As a result, we haven't had transit accessibility in Scarborough for the last, 30 years. Not 30 years, but like it was already bad, but amalgamation made it worse. So amalgamation happened in 1995. So since then, our transit situation has been awful. If I go visit my parents, it takes me 40 minutes or to an hour on a bus just to get to the closest subway station. Everywhere else in Toronto has access to a subway station within about 10 minutes of their residence. Yeah. It's honestly just because lower income areas are not prioritized in terms of transit, and it's really hard to live in a riding where candidates are not making that part of their platform because
and that's the whole thing, is basically like if you rate the party's platforms on a bunch of different tenets, like the PCs rank F in pretty much everything unless you're a rich person, and transit is one of their lowest areas because essentially they want to gut a lot of like bilateral agreements of transit plans that want to be built, like funding that's earmarked for like inner city transit stuff that's earmarked for the TTC. Mm-hmm. Essentially, he wants to just take Rob Ford's vision of a bunch of really expensive transit that only serves some people and make it even worse.
When really what Scarborough needs is LRTs, which was in the plan before Rob Ford nixed it.
He fixed up real good.
Yeah. And another thing about Scarborough is that, at least in my riding, but the majority of Scarborough, my riding, or my parents' riding, because I still vote there, it's still my listed address, it's only 9% white. It's a very, very small percentage. So because, people see those demographic statistics and say, oh, no white people live here. Why do we have to give them anything? It's really just, no one's ever come out and said it, but it seems very, very coded as a race issue.
And that's also a reason why, I mean, not to like generalize about minorities, but that's why the progressive conservatives go for a lot of the social conservative vote in the suburbs of Toronto too, right?
Yeah.
Is because they're not going to get any kind of economic conservative out of the people who live there.
No, not at all. And my riding has been a liberal stronghold, which, but like it's just like.
Are you in one of the ridings that's still projected to go liberal? One of the 4?
Oh yeah, Scarborough North. It's very weird how they hold on to that. I think our incumbent right now is probably going to win his seat, especially because the PC person running against him just assaulted a child during a campaign stump at a school, which you're not supposed to do. And our NDP candidate,
I would imagine not.
Our NDP candidate is black, and no one in our riding wants to vote for him because it's just race issues.
The too close to call polls have it as an NDP lean right now. I guess because the conservative candidate dropped a couple.
Yes,
points.
I would imagine that would not make him popular.
A kid.
Yeah, that too.
I'm looking at the Scarborough ridings right now. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them.
Scarborough's huge. It used to be its own city.
Yeah. Fuck's sakes. Like, Sudbury has 2 ridings and has 2 ridings forever and is probably, if anything, going to lose ridings.
We actually...
Because they like...
No, sorry, go on. But we actually had...
They generally try to keep it at 100,000 per riding, and we definitely don't have that.
We actually cut our ridings in the last election cycle because we had more. And they were just like, okay, let's just, push some of these together because this is like 12 ridings and it's crazy. But Scarborough is a huge swath of the city, but it's an overlooked part of the city. Always will be because it's the most impoverished area of Toronto.
God. Evan, how about your Barrie?
It's Barrie Innisfil. So Barrie, the city, has 3 ridings. We have Barrie Innisfil, which is where I live, which is the southern half of the city, and also Innisfil, Alcoma, and Churchill, and Cookstown. Those are the ones that are in my riding. And then we also have Barrie Simcoe Grey, which I don't know what that is, and Barrie Springwater Oro Medonte, which is the north half of the city, and all of Springwater and Oro Medonte, obviously. And my riding was liberal provincially, but if it had have been divided the way, like last election when it was just one riding, but if they had have had it divided the way it is now, it would have been conservative. And mine actually had a somewhat interesting story at first, because my riding federally, which is also Barrie Innisfil, was super brief leader of the PC party Patrick Brown's federal riding for years. And so when he dropped from the federal government to lead the PCs provincially, he was going to run as he was the conservative candidate. But right before the election happened, the whole thing about his sexual assault came out. And so he ended up dropping...
Yeah, he's a big old creepazoid.
Yep, he turned out to be a big old piece of shit. And he's running for he was running for the Progressive Conservatives. Is it really a surprise? Yeah, I mean, he tried to reopen the debate on gay marriage while he was a backbencher in Harper's Conservatives, so it's not like he wasn't a piece of shit beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that fucking...
He was my MP, and I loved every minute of it. And he's a huge shithead, obviously, and so he dropped out and got replaced by a woman named Andrea Kanjan, and I actually just saw her today. And she, I don't really know a whole lot about her, so I don't want to say too much. I know that she was kind of parachuted in by Brown when he left, and so a lot of people are upset about that.
Yeah.
But she's, right now, it's super close to call, because I'm working with the NDP for our candidate Pecorino's campaign, and it's like the Liberals stand no chance. We actually have a pretty high-ranking Liberal here as well, a woman named Ann Hogarth, and she's not winning. I've seen 8 signs in the entire city.
The polling has like a pretty big conservative lead on it right now, but like looking at the previous polls, it's a declining lead. So,
do you mean like generally or in my riding?
In your riding.
Sorry, where are you looking for that?
I'm on the Too Close to Call ones, which is like it uses less local polling data and more projection data, which is kind of like a weird methodology.
All right.
But they have also like very accurately predicted like the last 3 elections in Canada, so that's why I generally go to them.
Well, for the thing for the riding right now though is it is a declining lead, and the big thing I would say is I've only seen like 6 Liberal signs in the entire city that are not on public land. And one of them just went up yesterday, actually, from a person who used to be a Doug Ford supporter, which is really funny to me. But
that's really good.
But we had but I do think that the NDP here, and not just out of bias, I do think we genuinely have a pretty big chance, because we've got a...
Well, the thing about momentum is that momentum is what matters on vote day.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. Like we're coming pretty close, and I feel like a lot of people, when they go and they sit down in the polling booth and they actually look at the people who are in front of them, and they actually have to make that decision, I think a lot of things become rapidly very clear that aren't when you're just kind of talking about it beforehand.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like people are definitely going to start to realize, just exactly what it is that they're voting in when they vote for Doug Ford.
Yeah.
And I think that'll definitely give us an
I
advantage.
want to touch on our writings like real quick, just because like I feel like we've gone a lot of discussion on how this works and less discussion on the election itself.
Okay.
No problem. I'm just gonna. Can I just quickly? I just want to say one last thing, super quickly. Also, right now, the broad area that we're in is polling at the NDP's in the lead at I think 43% in I believe it's southeastern Ontario where I am. So there's a solid chance that might turn into an NDP seat here, which would be the first time since the 1990s when Bob Rae won and our MP was a guy named Paul Wessinger.
They always said that NDP couldn't get elected in Ontario again, but let's hope.
Yeah,
I think it's possible.
I really got to talk about just a little bit about Bob Rae when we get
really
into
do.
that section of it. So Sudbury has two ridings. One is Sudbury, one is Nickel Belt.
Mm-hmm.
Nickel Belt is the riding that contains most of the people who are union mine workers, and a lot of poverty in the outer cities. That's like a lot of rural people, and have consistently voted NDP since 1971 when Floyd Logren was elected. And Floyd Logren was the MPP for Nickel Belt until the end of the Bob Rae government.
It's now France Jelina.
And it has been France Jelina for the last 3 elections,
it's
and
gonna
she
be
is
her.
good.
Yeah, like it's going to be
she's going to
her.
win. It's literally 100% chance confirmed.
Now, okay, the Liberal candidate for Nickel Belt is Tay Butt. Is that Sharuk's? We knew some
I think
Butts.
he's related to Sharuk.
Okay,
yes.
yeah, Sharuk and Shazab. We went to high school with some guys, so yeah, because I kept seeing the signs, I was like, is that Sharuk's dad or something? So yeah.
I don't think it's his dad. I think they're related though.
Yeah.
They're.
Do you know anything about the
They're
PC?
Pakistani, I think.
Yeah. Do you know anything about the PC candidate?
I really don't.
I mean,
it's nonsense.
I lived in Nickel Belt, so it's a write-off. Like don't even worry about it. Don't even trip, dog.
Yeah, it's like I still voted for NDP, but
I still vote, but like it's going to be NDP.
I'm looking at the polling data, and it's 71.6% NDP.
Yep.
Chance.
The dream.
Sorry, that's 71.6 projected votes. 100% chance.
Yeah.
Like it's a fucking blow.
It is a lock.
It might be the strongest riding in the province.
Yeah.
No, there's a couple. Like the Northern Ontario ones are also strong ridings.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kiwetanoog. That's one of the ones that's Northwestern Ontario. It's one of the new ridings that was created to increase inclusion in Parliament.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very good thing because, well, I mean, for a cynical reason, because it immediately means more NDP votes.
Yeah. It's
like it's like 100% chance. It's just more NDP votes right away.
Yeah.
That is one of the ridings that is more represented than us. And just doing a quick look, Windsor is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Any of the cities that are like heavily union auto worker.
Windsor, Hamilton Center, Nickel Belt, the Northwestern one you mentioned, all of those are super NDP.
Yeah, Hamilton Center is also really high because that's Horvath's riding, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think it was even before she became leader, just because it's got the whole unionized steel there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So those are the kind of areas that are always gonna cape for the NDP. And like God, Ray, remember when NAFTA happened and everything got bad in Ontario?
Yep.
And all these countries are never gonna trust a liberal government. All those ridings will never trust a liberal ever again.
As they should.
Which is fucking it makes sense. So that's the long and short of those. The other thing with the Sudbury riding, which is the Sudbury Centre riding, is that they had a by-election. So Joe Cimino won the election last time for the NDP. And then once it was discovered that it was the Kathleen Wynne government won a majority, which means they had the most seats in the legislature and also a majority of the seats. So essentially any legislation they put by is happening. Mm-hmm. And what happened is when that seat came to be a by-election seat, the Liberals wanted to pull some local clout to capture the seat, so they actually got a federal NDP NP to floor cross to the provincial Liberals to go in the election. And the guy who had run for the Liberals prior, Andrew Olivier, was basically bribed and was caught on tape being bribed.
Yep.
to step aside in the election, and there has still been trials on that. Like that's something that's still being tested in court right now, and there's no fucking way Glenn Thibault is winning because of this.
Yeah, it's
like he's honestly a decent dude. Like he was a good representative when he was with our federal NDP, but like there's no fucking way in hell.
I met him a couple of times because some Yes Theater people do like work for him. And like I remember talking to him and being like, he seems like a really nice guy. But you know,
he's friends with my dad because like that he was like we talked with him a lot when he was going through trying to get like the soccer field funding and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because we've been trying to get an indoor sports facility for 100 million years and no one wants to do anything about it, and then he got funding for it. Mm-hmm. But that's still not enough. He's not getting elected.
Nope.
You can't bribe me with a soccer center that I've wanted forever. So the way this election is going right now is essentially the NDP and the Progressive Conservatives are slated to get almost equal vote share.
Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
But that does not mean they're slated to get equal seats. Hey, Evan, you want to talk about vote inefficiency?
Yes, I very much would like to do that, because I actually I was involved in a local thing in Barrie in high school to try and encourage people to vote for voter reform when the Liberals tabled it in like 2015. And then people voted in the Liberals, and then they just didn't.
Yeah, the Liberals did nothing and didn't even put it to ballot. Just nothing happened.
Well, I mean, to be fair,
future electoral promise had nothing happen.
Well, sorry, I mean, I know that's I know that's like a federal thing, but like on the provincial level, I think it's extremely good to me that we're going to have I don't want to compare this too much, obviously, to the American election because it's not the same thing, but the fact that we're going to have basically the NDP and the Conservatives winning like 36, I think it is, % of the vote, or 36 or 37, depending.
Yeah. And
they're both going to win that much, and then the Conservatives will have massively more seats for no reason because Doug Ford's really popular in the GTA, and all of his votes are all in a bunch of really tiny ridings, while all the NDP votes are in big ridings, so we'll win a lot of people, but they'll all be in the same big brackets, basically.
A lot of it is like a lot of ridings that the NDP is winning, they're winning by so many that those votes are functionally meaningless.
It's basically gerrymandering, except like
it's literally gerrymandering. Like
it's the same principle.
This is the thing that happens from gerrymandering.
Yeah, it's the same principle.
It's just a shitty system.
Yeah, these were drawn up.
The whole
the
thing that makes gerrymandering work is that the system is shitty.
Like the reason why my city, like in Barrie, has 3 ridings is because of gerrymandering. Like because Barrie has been conservative and like occasionally liberal forever. Like it's an uphill battle to be an NDP member here. And they were the Conservatives split it federally, and I don't know why it's split provincially. I'll admit I don't know how that works, but I know it's split federally because of gerrymandering. They just knew they'd get 3 votes instead of 1 if they made Barrie 3 ridings.
Yeah. It's because like Barrie hasn't had a significant increase in population, has it?
No, it hasn't. Like Barrie used to be the fastest growing city in Ontario. It hasn't been in
everyone
years.
Realized Barrie fucking sucks.
Oh, absolutely. Like it does. Like don't get me wrong. Like I live here, but I do not like it.
Yeah, God. So essentially, that the big thing with this election is that the current premier Kathleen Wynne.
More like Kathleen lose.
Is going to Kathleen. She's Pokemon going to Kathleen lose.
She has. When did she concede?
She conceded 2 days ago.
Yeah, Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Which I really want to talk about because who the fuck does that?
Okay, we've got to talk about that. I was so pissed the way she did it.
Yeah. Yeah, like Emma, you want to talk about it?
I do want to talk about it because she goes out and she talks about how she's conceding she knows she's not going to be premier. And she's saying that, I did this all for the kids, I did this all for the people's futures. And then she does an about face and says, okay, but still vote Liberals. Even though we're gonna lose, she says, just vote Liberals because NDP and Conservatives, we can't afford Ford, and NDP, we don't want to write them a blank check to do whatever they want. And it was like, okay, you've acknowledged basically that the Liberals are basically going to get no seats. Why would you risk splitting the vote that way by telling people, go vote Liberal, because if you vote Liberal knowing that party is going to lose, that's a bunch of seats that the NDP could have gotten. It was just such a self-serving, so like disgusting way. And she entrenched it. She made it seem as if she was doing a noble thing when it was really just like the whole sentiment of what she was saying was basically, if I can't be leader, no one else should be.
Yeah.
Remember,
and I have two things to say with that. One, remember when liberal parties in the past have desperately asked NDP and Green voters to vote for them to keep out conservative governments?
Yeah. And
do not return the favor.
They just don't, yeah.
And
fucking hypocrisy.
Two, the real cynical reason why she's doing this, I think, is really obvious once it was like explained to me. It was in a tweet of someone talking with like Liberal Party insiders, and essentially, the Liberals see a better path to victory in 2022 with the Doug Ford government.
Yep.
That's literally the fucking reason why they did that instead of just saying vote NDP. Because they see a better fucking path to win in 2022.
Yeah. I mean, because it's going to be hell world when Doug Ford... He's going to, everything that I've gotten my free tuition now, I've gotten my free medication, and you know what, like, okay, credit Kathleen Wynne for that, but he's going to roll that back the minute he gets into... it's what Mike Harris did. When he got into government, he called it the common sense legislation or whatever, and he rolled back every single good thing we had gotten, all the social services, on his first day. Like, that was his whole thing. Doug Ford will not hesitate.
The thing about fucking Bob Rae that people don't get is that his government is not the reason why Ontario was falling apart in the early 90s.
No!
Oh, yeah, like...
The reason Ontario was falling apart in the early 90s is fucking NAFTA.
That's true.
Yeah. You guys...
We literally lost like something like 50% of our manufacturing jobs in a fell swoop.
I'm starting to think that capitalism might be bad.
The thing is that capitalism is fucking bad.
Yeah.
And essentially, we're in kind of an interesting position of like a province that has more than two parties, in that our last three governments functionally were the parties, just like one after another, and you could just kind of see like each of those parties, what they did in how they would govern Ontario in the future. So like Bob Rae essentially tried to course correct like a supreme debt crisis that was happening when he got into office, and was due to mitigating factors like, there was an economic crash in Canada in the early 90s. It's just a thing that happened, and it was prior to his election. And he, pumped social services. Like, I'm not going to say all his policies were fucking hits, but, like, he was trying to make things better for, like, the low end of the population. Mike Harris came in and fucking gutted everything, gutted union bargaining powers, gutted hospital funding.
Teachers,
gutted hospital funding.
Fucked up teachers' lives.
As a child of several
my mom was a
teachers,
teacher, and she was out on the picket line for, like, 5 weeks. Like...
My dad will literally never vote conservative because of that.
My mom will only vote NDP because of all that shit.
Yeah, and essentially, the worst part is that he had gutted a lot of healthcare funding at the same time that Jean Chrétien, fucking liberal douche piece of shit, had just cut federal transfers to provinces. Because essentially, like, all our healthcare stuff is run provincially, but it's funded with federal money. And all that money was basically cut out, and then essentially to balance the budget, instead of trying to fight for better funding for our hospitals, he just cut a bunch of nursing jobs and cut a bunch of hospital funding, and now we have bed shortages in every major city. We have nurse shortages in every major city. We have home care nurse shortage in every city. We have nursing home shortages in every city.
On that point, I just want to remind everyone that the last time we had a Conservative Premier in Ontario, Mike Harris / Ernie Eves, we ended up with a body count because of the Walkerton water crisis.
Yeah. Right, fuck, I forgot about Walkerton.
2,000 people got sick and 6 or 7 people died because they didn't do the appropriate checks and their water got contaminated. That would have never happened under, I don't like to give Liberals credit, but it would never happen under a Liberal government or an NDP government.
Yeah, because he cut the, that would be the health units, right? Like funding for the health units?
So, I mean, that's what, honestly, that a vote for Conservatives is a vote for killing your populace, basically.
Yeah, and he also like cut a lot of transit funding, so a lot of like the Toronto Downtown Relief Line is the most fucking beleaguered piece of transit in the entire world.
Let's not talk about downtown transit though, because
I know.
I think that the one thing that this whole, like, particularly Kathleen Wynne's, like, recent, I don't even want to call it a resignation because it wasn't really, but her whole conclusion, I think, points out kind of the problem with not just the Liberals in Ontario, but with, like, Liberals generally speaking.
Oh, yeah.
And that's that she, at the end of the day, all this proves to me is that all the things that she's done for any sort of marginalized populations or any sort of groups of people who needed the things that she did, which were, in some cases, like, objectively good things.
No, I got great
She doesn't
things
give a
from
fuck
her
about
government.
any of that. Like, she doesn't care because she's willing to throw it all away just so her party can get back in 4 years, because she knows if the NDP win and they do well, then people aren't going to vote for Liberals anymore.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah,
she'd rather let us slide towards fascism because that's what liberalism does. They go, well, all my stuff stays safe, so with this guy, even if he fucks it over for the people who are actually going to feel it.
So the thing about the Liberals, though, right now is that, like, I don't want to defend them. I don't like them. They have a fucking messaging problem. Kathleen Wynne was so disliked by anybody who didn't vote for her. Like, she is hated. Why would you have a campaign ad saying, I know you don't like me, to remind all the people who don't like her that they don't like her? Like, it was just... And they don't have... I don't know who their PR person is, but they have been fucking it up for years.
So the thing about Liberals is that they don't actually stand for anything. They stand for being elected.
Yeah.
That's like their whole thing.
That is
it's
like they adopted.
That's actually, if you boil it down, federal Liberals, provincial Liberals, their only consistent platform is they just like to be
exactly
elected.
Like the Liberals. Them giving me free medication until I'm 25, which is in a month, so great. But them giving me free medication, them giving me, because they make under a certain amount, I can get free university or college tuition if I wanted to go back to school. Those are all NDP policies that they just stole. Like, they're just taking...
Yeah, they just took them wholesale.
Populism. They're just populism. They're just doing whatever they can to be... They love being elected. That's their whole thing.
They just really fucking like being elected. And are you going to tell them that they can't be elected?
I will tell them.
I mean,
how could you be so mean to them?
Even our federal universal health care that was technically enacted by Liberals was literally just stolen from Tommy Douglas's NDP.
Oh my god! He was like, we would not
like,
have.
Shit, we better not let any sort of working class or middle class frustration go over to those damn socialists. Better just make shit versions of what they want and run it as our policy.
Like, you look at...
and like the thing that's even like more brazen about it is that, like, they can't even use those as policy points against the NDP because the NDP just have better versions of those policies still in their platform.
Because we said it first.
They also they want to make it better. They want to expand pharmacare. They want to expand pharmacare to a larger set of medications. They want to expand dental care, which is like real fucking important because a lot of people can't afford a dentist, and a dentist is a thing that is needed.
Yeah,
especially when you're young.
It's so whack how healthcare is free, but like medicine and dentistry is not.
And listen, like, Kathleen Wynne can pat herself on the back as much as she wants for extending free, drugs to people under 25. Quebec, for years and years, has extended free drugs to their entire population. So don't pat yourself on the back for doing, like, one step. Like, the NDP would have given us that. That's their whole part of the thing, is they want everyone in the, to have free access to drugs that they need. Like, once I get off of my, once I hit 25, I'm going back to paying $800 a month for medication I need. Like, how does that help me?
It's just...
It's fucked.
Like, it's like the fact that anybody has to pay money for things that make them not die is fucking ridiculous.
Like, yes, I will die without some of my medications. And now that I'm, I don't know how I'm going to pay for them in July. I don't know. And if we get a conservative government I sure as fuck I'm not going to be getting any free medication. So, kudos to Kathleen Wynne for at least, doing the bare minimum. But the NDP actually has solid, proposals for how to get the entire population of Ontario access to the medication they need.
What we need
for less money than they're paying now, but less money for the insurance companies that fund the Liberal policies. So,
fucking capitalism bad. We need a DSA for Canada.
For real.
Yeah.
God, I mean, like, that's functionally what the NDP needs to actually be.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what I mean is, like,
It's
we
just
need an
they're not.
organization to push the NDP leftward, because they have had a rightward drift in the last couple of elections, like,
I feel like there's
every
people
other
in the
fucking
NDP
major
who are
socialist
trying
party.
to-
We need a Jeremy
Yeah.
Corbyn is what we need.
Yeah, we need someone who's just, like, exciting. And, well, I mean, like, Jagmeet Singh could be that.
He could.
Yeah.
You know what? Jagmeet Singh is actually one of the most progressive NDP leaders we've had in a long time. He's actually for decriminalizing all drugs. All drugs. Which is
That's
amazing.
good shit.
He was on Daddy Trudeau, like immediately. Like, remember the Gaza massacre? He added Justin all fucking day about like not saying anything about that. I remember seeing that on Twitter, and that was great.
Justin Trudeau is dumb as a post. I just wanted to add that. Sorry.
Yeah, he truly is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I was just listening to like there's this Halifax podcast called Dog Island. They're really fucking good. It's good to listen to like other dumbasses talk about leftism and them be Canadian, so like I actually have a frame of reference to talk to them about. And essentially they're just talking about like the NDP candidates and how like even the more nominally left ones aren't as left as they need to be.
It's true.
Like not even Nikki Ashton was as left as she needed
Like
to
she
be.
was getting there though. She should have fucking gotten the nomination.
Yes.
Honestly, like
I
robbed.
love Nikki Ashton.
I actually I was working alongside her for a while because I was going to all the back when we were Jacqueline died. We needed a new NDP candidate.
Yeah.
I was at a lot of the I don't know what you call those things to
like caucus meetings?
to like re-elect a new leader. She was always my first pick because you have the ranked ballots.
Yeah.
It was always Nikki Ashton.
Yeah.
And then
She was my vote.
and then they fucking Tom Mulcair, the worst person, pro-Israel, Tom fucking Mulcair.
Point my finger and yell.
God, yeah, I wish he'd won on that.
His
ballot.
French is so bad, and he's from Quebec.
He's from fucking Outremont, isn't he?
So kind of Quebec.
I probably pronounced that better than him.
Yeah.
And I have.
Oh, remember when
garbage
Harper
French.
tried to speak French? Sorry, I just.
Oh, good.
I remember
And see, like, yeah, like,
remember
you
when
don't
Harper
mind if
tried
I-
to speak English?
God, Jagmeet Singh's French isn't great, but he's like actually making efforts to make
He
it
is.
better,
That's what
which
I love. Is
very
when
good.
people commit to like knowing that like okay, I'm okay at this, but I'm not great, and they make efforts to actually like do better. And Harper was just like busy playing Sweet Caroline with his fucking stupid band.
Something you may
We've gotten
not
off
know.
track. We're talking about federal politics.
sorry,
We
I'm
should be talking
sorry,
about on provincial. But although I did want to kind of segue a point there is that I kind of wish Nikki Ashton got the federal ballot so that Jagmeet Singh could have been essentially just. I feel like if he didn't win the federal NDP leadership party, like the race, that he could have been in a very good position to take over for Andrea Horwath if she lost.
Yeah. And like no, I'm talking about like.
Because he was literally the deputy leader. He was second in command.
I got no beef with Jagmeet Singh. I'm just talking about back when, you know, it was just like was it when Jacqueline died, 2011?
Yeah, that was the first
Yeah, the
one.
first one. Because she was running that back then too. And she was just so like, she was like, went out of her way to talk to every single delegate at every single meeting. She was just like,
Yeah.
and she would, if you like had a specific question for her, she would actually call you personally on her phone and be like, oh, I didn't know the answer before, but I've looked it up and formulated an answer now. Like, she was one of those people.
Yeah. The thing that they were saying on Dog Island, which is kind of how I got on this topic in the first place, is that the NDP just has a really fucking bad ground game a lot of the time. And I don't know if that's necessarily true in all ridings, but it's just like I think it's a strategy problem more than anything. Because they have the energy and they have the people, but they don't have the messaging.
It's a problem with all the left-wing parties in Ontario, to be honest.
Like Evan, you could definitely speak to that better than anyone because you literally work with the NDP.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much because potential future paychecks ride on me continuing to be in the good graces of the New Democrats, but I also want to point out as a side note, I'm not paid right now by the NDP or anything like that, but that's hopefully a thing that I will be in the future. Anyway, regardless, the NDP right now, I don't know if you saw that ad that was out a little while ago on May the 4th, for the funny Star Wars Day. And it was a picture of Andrea Horwath with, I think she had of all things a red lightsaber, which is just bad messaging to the nerds you're pandering to. And also it was like it was something like may the fourth be with you, or something like Andrea has the force, or something like that.
Yeah, I know, it was really fucking bad.
It was like the Pokemon Go to the pollest fucking ad she could have possibly run. And
I wish she said something just so monumentally stupid that we named a podcast after it.
Yeah, can we just someday someday there's gonna be a new leftism podcast called Andrea Horvath Has the Force or some shit like that.
I think the most pathetic thing was Andrea Horvath. Like, I wish she had better messaging, because she did that whole Twitter stunt where she was like peeking at her tablecloth and was like, "Where's Doug Ford's policy plan or platform?" And it's just like, it's like very corny. Somebody's like point them in a.
Why are the NDP so fucking bad at
They're
memes?
so corny.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
They have so many fucking meme lord shithead fans that could do so well for them if they just let us loose.
Hey, look,
I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually liked that one, the Doug Ford where's his policy thing. I actually kind of liked that.
It's cute. It's cute, but I think it annoys people. Like, I don't know, like who are not into that sort of like mom humor.
Yeah. I just gotta say, Andrea, I invented the fucking Doge meme. Hire me.
NDP hire Matt as the meme master.
I just got laid
You reminded
off.
me of the name I was gonna do. I was gonna be Doge Ford.
Listen, if someone
totally
needs to post
forgot.
some dank memes for the NDP party, I just lost my job. I have so much time on my hands. I'm so willing to just post some dank ass NDP memes.
I'm so fucking mad that my job is ending the day after the election, so I can't meme for our Orange Party.
Honestly, there's so many ridings in the country where they just need just anyone. So, honestly, you could go to almost any local NDP riding association and just be like, "Give me a job," and they will.
Just walk in like high school gym doors, with the clicky, and you hit both of them open. So you're hitting both doors. You're coming in hot.
Yeah,
you just yell, "What the fuck is up, gamers?"
So NDP
You knock
riding
both doors
associations-
open and you just walk into the divider bar, slam your head, pass out, killing you instantly.
But
Yeah, no, that's the idea.
the NDP are actually really good to work for. I don't know, Craig Scott was replacing, I guess, Jack Layton, back in, I don't know, it was 5-6 years ago, and...
It was, what was that, I think, yeah, it was 2012.
Yeah, and so I
wasn't
got
it?
hired to work on his campaign. We won. And, he was, the most,
For Trinity Spadina?
Yeah, and he was the most, he made sure, through this after party, he made sure to come up to me, and he was like, "I saw you at our campaign office all the time." He was like, "You were you're part of what made us win, your dedication," and, the NDP really does, do well by their, employees or their volunteers. It's really... I haven't worked in politics since then, but it's a really, inspiring sort of... they treat you like human beings, and they pay you like they're supposed to, like you're a human who has worth.
Yeah. All right. I actually got a couple of questions fielded for this.
Questions.
I made sure to only post the question thing initially to my Discord that has only Canadians in it, just so the questions wouldn't be really fucking bad. Because
if America got
Americans
owned.
tend to ask really pandering questions to Canadians when we're talking about politics. Not even pandering, condescending, I think would be the better answer.
They don't mean to do it, but
I honestly sometimes they totally
do. But yeah,
we got a couple of questions in, mostly just from people I know. So, friend of the show, Leaf Crunch, is asking, "I've been out of the Ontario loop living in Halifax. Alex does go to school in Ontario, but is currently living out in Halifax. What has Kathleen Wynne done to get such universal disdain?" We didn't really touch on this, so this is something we can get into briefly at the very
Wait,
least.
my audio cut out. What did Kathleen Wynne do to get such
Universal disdain.
Yes, okay.
I don't know, we could probably each take a point here.
Mm-hmm.
I think, unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with her being a lesbian.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I actually was going to bring that up
yep.
earlier in them of Andrea Horvath, of Kathleen Wynne, and in Sudbury of our local NDP candidate Frangelina is just normal ass misogyny.
Yep.
it's so pervasive that people don't even know they're fucking doing it. They're just like, I don't like how she like talks about this thing or how she does this thing, and these are criticisms that they won't level to male candidates at all.
No, like, don't get me wrong, she is bad, but a lot of it is straight up bigotry, though.
Yeah.
That is a first point.
It for sure is. And my dad brings up a lot, actually. Unfortunately, he used to be like a very far left guy, but he really like developed a liking for Kathleen Wynne, and he felt very hurt that a lot of people didn't like her for being a lesbian. My senior citizen dad. And I think that really, I don't think it has everything to do with it, but I think it has a lot to do with it. And as a queer woman who entertained at one point going into politics, this makes me just think that no, I'll never do it because I can't handle it.
Yeah, it's gonna be fucking horrible. Yeah. I mean, I just remember your days in poli-sci just having to deal with poli-sci bros. It's like that times 100 million.
I once had MRAs attack me on my campus, calling me a violent, abusive Stalinist thug. So, I mean, if that wasn't enough to take me out of, wanting to be in politics, I don't know if admitting to being gay would, really help me in any matter.
No.
Honestly, I would lean into it if somebody called me a Stalinist thug.
Oh, I loved it. Violent, abusive Stalinist thug. I was like...
Wasn't it your Twitter bio?
I was a 4'11", tiny 17... I graduated high school early, 17-year-old college student who attended a protest and had all these conservative, weird MRA... who definitely are probably like Richard Spencer fanboys now, tell me I was a violent, abusive Stalinist thug for holding a sign and not speaking. Like, I hold that dear to my heart to this day. I will always be the violent, abusive Stalinist thug that they told me I was.
God, remember when the cops like attacked you guys instead of?
Oh yeah, we definitely got
Nazis?
We got roughed up by some cops because we were trying to protest child molester speaking at our university.
It was the A Voice for Men guy, wasn't it?
No. He was I can't even remember his name now. That's how irrelevant he is. But he was like coming to our university to like talk about how men are so disenfranchised and also to promote incest because it's good.
Wait, was that Roosh V?
No. He's a white guy. Oh my god, I can't remember his name now because like I really like blocked this part of. If you.
We don't need you to relive this.
No. But I mean, if anyone ever wants to Google for men. There's some choice quotes about me, and you could probably figure out who the guy was by then. They wrote a whole hate site about me. They put me on they registered me on a site called something like Identify the Bigot. Kathleen Heigl is also on it because she advocated for neutering dogs. So this is their This is regular run of the mill misandrist. Neuter your pets. I mean, like Bob, what's his name? He's next on the list.
God. So other things for Kathleen Wynne. I mean, people generally don't like. A lot of people don't like any of her policies she stole from the NDP. It's really funny when people call her like a communist dictator. And they're not being facetious because it's like, God, I fucking wish.
Can you imagine if the Liberals took power and as she was like coming on, she just like tore like a blazer off and there's just a big hammer and sickle shirt underneath?
Yeah, like, that'd be good. Then I'd vote for her. There was the was it a gas plant? The power plant scandal
that was
in
a big
Ontario?
thing.
That was an inherited thing more than anything.
It's very true.
Because that's basically why Dalton McGuinty.
She was cleaning up Dalton McGuinty's mess. And honestly, if we're ranking worst Liberal premiers, Dalton McGuinty, high.
How the fuck was he elected so many times?
So many times. We need term limits in Canada because what the fuck? We had Harper for like not to go back to federal politics, 11 years. Like
it was like 10 years.
10, 11 years, I can't remember what it was, but we had to suffer.
We had Harper from 2006 to 2015, so
like basically by the time
it felt like 100.
By the time I was conscious to understand what politics was, to the time I was in high school, like the end of my last year in high school, was like that's all I knew about politics was Harper for my formative years.
Well, I mean, and you think about it, like from your date of birth to when you would have been 10 years old, you had the same premiere in Jean Chrétien.
Jean Chrétien was a guy. The Shawinigan handshake. I don't know.
So yeah, I was just about to mention that too.
That was.
Remember when Nardwar asked him a question? It was literally Nardwar asked him a question about pepper spraying protesters, and he said that pepper for me, I put it on my plate.
Oh my god, he was just like the most like. I don't want to, French and English, and as I'm someone who was French Canadian, it's a national language, but he really leaned hard into his I don't understand what you're saying whenever anyone criticized him, and he had fine English, but I always thought that was funny that like he would do that, but I didn't think it was funny that he fucking assaulted a protester, and that was like fine. No one ever made a big deal about it. I'm just like, yep, that's what our prime ministers do. They assault protesters.
I just remember that like everyone used to get their picture taken, and he'd do like he would grab their neck like as a funny thing.
They made it a meme before memes were a meme. Like it was a whole thing.
Remember when he got hit by a pie?
Yeah, good.
Mm-hmm. You know that funny prank when you choke somebody?
Yeah.
Okay.
The funny strangle meme.
But if we're gonna talk about,
like a funny assault,
worst liberal leaders, we can have Jean Chrétien, but Michael Ignatieff.
Oh. He was barely even Canadian.
No.
Wasn't that one of the things about him?
He was a fucking American. Yeah, basically.
Yeah, he was like fucking American.
I think they did a whole like study of how he spent about maybe 12% of his time in Canada while he was like the official leader of the Liberal Party. Like, what the fuck is that?
It's good.
He had no personality whatsoever.
Because he
had eyebrows. I remember he had eyebrows.
He had big
ass eyebrows. That's all. Yeah.
Just big.
That's the thing with the Liberals is that they realize that no one actually cares, and that's why they're just like, let's get a nominally attractive guy. And
are you calling Michael Ignatieff nominally attractive? Because
no, I'm saying they revised their strategy, and that's how we got
sexier than
fucking
Stephen
bland
Harper.
Piece of man meat.
I mean, there's a whole swath of people who believe Justin Trudeau is like the heartthrob of all heartthrobs. I'm worried about the country.
I could say he is like that's why I would call him nominally attractive.
He's a good looking guy.
He takes care of his hair.
He has good skin.
He's in good shape.
He's not like his father.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, I'm calling it right now. Justin Trudeau, 6 out of 10.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for 5.3. 5.3.
Above average.
5.3.
Mm-hmm. I'd give him a soft 7.
Ooh, wow.
It's a soft because I'm soft.
High.
And he's been as high as
but like Jagmeet Singh is like a 13.
Oh, Jagmeet Singh is a fucking babe.
Yeah.
I don't even like men that much, but Jagmeet Singh, like, daddy.
He can get it.
I'm gonna say, like, honestly, the thing that always kills me for like Justin Trudeau, like, especially like apparently his dad had the same thing, like this whole like cult of personality around him. And I've never understood that because like I hate myself and I'm better looking than fucking
Pierre Trudeau. You're better than Pierre Trudeau. Yeah, like Pierre Trudeau was like kind of like legit though. He was like friends with Fidel Castro.
He was very smart.
He was friends with Fidel Castro. Like cool. Like Justin Trudeau is kind of a dumbass. Like he's not very smart. Yeah. Pierre Trudeau actually had like the qualifications to be a prime minister. Justin Trudeau is like you're pretty and you parrot party line. I don't really know what he's done. He certainly didn't do electoral reform, which he fucking campaigned on.
When's my weed? When's my fucking
July.
weed?
July, dude.
Yeah,
but like, is it? He says.
However, you can
There's
only
no
smoke
way.
inside your own home. However, if you live and rent a home, which all fucking millennials do, you cannot smoke inside that home. So where do we smoke?
Yeah, where the fuck am I gonna smoke?
Yeah, I mean, there's no way they're
and
gonna...
also, like, of course, like Ontario. That was another Kathleen Wynnism, since we are actually still on that question.
Yeah.
She decided that the marijuana legalization in Ontario would be another fucking control board.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Yep.
I mean,
and I don't even know the gas plant story as much because we kind of got off topic. But
I'm gonna say
there was a huge thing with funding of gas plants, and a bunch of money went to it. Also, she privatized Hydro One.
Like, as much as I don't want like any legal marijuana thing to be anything private businesses are allowed to touch, because fuck that shit. I don't want stupid gentrifying weed businesses popping up with like dumb bullshit names all over the place, like in Colorado. Like, I don't need a place called, like, I don't know, what's a funny name?
There's a dispensary in Toronto called Weed the North, and I support that existing.
Yeah, you see, you know what? That's funnier than anything I could come up with. That's dumb as fuck, and I hate it, and I don't want things like that to exist. Nationalize the weed industry, take their businesses away from them, and just call them...
Yeah, because the whole thing is, like, you could just see all the fucking liberal donors frothing at the mouth, while Trudeau has given absolutely no fucking look towards amnesty to people arrested for drug crimes.
Yep.
I mean,
Nor has Kathleen Wynne, for that matter.
Obviously, the ideal solution would be just let the workers run the weed stores, but that's
Yep.
not going to happen.
Yep.
So
No.
at least do like a decent like nationalization procedure. Like, have it be a crown corporation. Have like a publicly controlled crown corporation that's not directly some shitty government control board thing, and just let it run like a nationalized business, like a fucking
God, remember
normal person.
crown corporations?
Yeah.
Pepperidge Farm remembers crown corporations.
I just don't want another LCBO for weed. Just let me get my fucking weed.
Remember when we used to have crown corporations, like, at all?
Yeah, remember those?
Remember before
I think we should absolutely nationalize all our mines at the very least.
Yeah, remember when we used to have a nationalized rail system and it made sense, and now there's no more rails up to the north of Ontario because they're too expensive?
Nationalize literally
Yeah,
everything.
because they're all owned by Americans who won't service or fix the lines.
Remember when our highways were owned by the country? Like, you know, makes fucking sense.
And then Mike Harris sold the 407 for 100 years.
I really, Mike Harris, like, I had this sort of, like, gut, like, reaction to, like, a recoil when I hear his name. It's just so awful. It's so awful.
It's real fucking
It's so awful.
bad.
Scarborough would still be its own city if it wasn't for fucking Mike Harris. We'd be better off. Scarborough...
Yeah, well, Sudbury also had an amalgamation that didn't happen during Harris years, but was a direct result of Harris policies.
Yeah.
And it has been a fucking shit show.
Yeah, and I don't want to, I don't want to take that away.
Sudbury is even more far-flung, like, geographically than Toronto is. Like, we encompass a fucking massive area with not that many people in it. So, like, anything that you see that's bad about, like, being an underrepresented poor population, think about that if you're like 15 kilometers further in the forest with a bad highway.
Oh, and
I was going to say, imagine...
fucking
for
so
sure,
bad.
for sure. But, like, Scarborough had this really amazing, cohesive community until they forced us to be a part of Toronto, and then things just went shittier and shittier for us. We actually, in our neighborhoods before amalgamation, people were making regular amount of money. If you compare, I looked at statistics last night actually, and compared to Toronto Centre, which isn't even a rich riding, which is a downtown riding, and Scarborough North makes our average income is $2,800 a year. Not great. Toronto Centre makes $6,200 a year, and that's average. That's like middle class, and it's like, like people, and I see people out here in my riding in Scarborough, or my parents' riding at least. I just never changed my address. Like hustling, like they're trying to they work 7 jobs to make ends meet, and all they get is their $2,800 a year at best salary, and people fucking faffing around in Toronto Centre downtown, just at their corporate jobs, just looking at Reddit all day at their computer, are making like 3 times as much as we make in Scarborough, when people in Scarborough are doing the manual labor.
Nationalize tech and nationalize real estate.
Yes.
Absolutely. Especially real estate, man. Like,
oh my god, the fact that real estate is prime to me, it makes no goddamn sense. The second you think about it, it doesn't make sense.
Can you imagine, like, if the things people needed to, like, live in the real world were, at the mercy of someone whose main goal was to make a ton of money and not give a shit about anything else?
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds like it would really suck.
Everything
if
should
that's
nationalize, and anything
were.
that doesn't nationalize should unionize. There we go. It's done.
Nationalize, unionize,
Exactly.
everything. And, okay, on that point, Kathleen Wynne will want to always bring in back-to-work legislation all the time. So don't vote for her.
Oh my god,
Don't vote
that
for
reminds
her.
me. she fucking made like a point. This was like an actual like, you can't vote for Andrea Horwath because then strikes will happen. And it's like, strikes are good.
Fucking teachers should be out on the streets all the time. Like,
strikes aren't like, I wouldn't say strikes are good because ideally
no, but if workers' conditions aren't being met, then yes, fucking strike.
Like
back to work legislation is the fucking worst. I can't believe the liberals.
It's a conservative policy that the liberals adopted, and it's like that shows me your true colors. It shows me your true colors, especially because they made that part of their platform in selection, saying that Andrea Horwath will refuse to bring in back to work legislation. It's like, well, am I supposed to be mad about that? Fucking good.
Yeah. Okay.
And like she was like all those.
Yeah, you're gonna say it. You just say it.
It's just like all those students at the the universities, they're getting their their education taken away from them. Motherfucker, I was on the picket line with my professors the entire strike. Like nobody at Laurentian, I don't know about York, but nobody at Laurentian wanted back to work legislation. Nobody at Laurentian.
York, I know a lot of people were on this. We're not with the teachers on that, but I just think it's because a lot of the York College stuff is, I guess, better funded than the colleges up here. I don't know because like a lot of the teachers didn't want to be on strike there apparently, but like. I don't know. That's kind of what happens when you have a provincial-wide strike, I suppose.
We had this whole in Ontario when Mike Harris was premier. We had this whole for a long time schools were locked down, and I wasn't able to go to school. And
I remember that.
And
it was a good vacation.
No. My mom was on the picket line every single day, and she could not find childcare for me at all. And I was like maybe 6. My sister was 9, and they weren't about to leave us at home. My parents didn't even let me. They didn't give me my own key to their house till I was 14. Like they were like, I lived in a rough area, and it was just that but it was this whole thing where my mom fucking busted her ass as a teacher. She never came home. School ended at 2:37 at her high school. She never came home until 6 p.m. because she was just fucking she ran the underground LGBT GSA group because it was a all girls Catholic school, and teachers bust their ass. Teachers risk their jobs to do this kind of shit, and to tell them that they're not worth the money for the labor they do. It was just so hard. It was so hard for my mom with me growing up. She had 2 daughters that she wanted to provide for, and Mike Harris, and I'm bringing it back to this point because this is the last time we had a conservative premier. He screwed her life over. She was so upset because she wanted to be with her kids, but she had to be on the picket line. She had to be out there, making a point, making it, showing that it was important to her that teachers have rights. Teachers should have fair pay. Teachers do, where would we be without our teachers? My mom was a religion teacher at a Catholic all-girls high school who refused to teach the part in the catechism where, they said that homosexuals are intrinsically disordered because she knew me and my sister were gay. She knew me and my cousins were gay, and she didn't want to hurt anybody. My mom, risked her job to run an underground GSA group before it was even legal to do that in Catholic TCDSB schools. Teachers go above and beyond. They go above and beyond. And it's so upsetting that they have to fucking, march just to get, a 2% pay increase. It's just...
And, I think the worst thing when you think about this is just, if you look at the grand scope of North America, Ontario teachers have it so good, and it's still so shitty.
Oh, I know. My mom...
it's so fucking
My
bad.
mom was a teacher because she started teaching when she was 23, because back then you could do that shit.
Yeah, that's what my dad started.
And she worked, she worked at the same high school all her life. She ended up with a pretty good salary, but she was out there marching for the younger teachers who didn't make what she did. That was the whole thing. It was never it was never a concern with her that she was gonna, not make ends meet for her family. But it was just that she thought that, like, she loved her colleagues, she loved people she worked with, she recognized how hard they also worked. And just, like, why teachers are, like, this is why we see this whole crisis in the U.S., and not to make this about, with, like, undereducated populaces making stupid fucking bad decisions. And I feel like that's
yeah, and then their teachers make like $15,000 a year,
and so it's like,
which is fucking
and there's still those good, amazing teachers who making $15,000 a year are still fucking putting in all their work for their kids.
Yeah, and buying supplies
for them because they don't have, like, my mom was lucky in that she taught at a Catholic school, and Catholic schools get public funding in Ontario.
Yeah.
But it's just so upsetting to know that, like, the teachers are, the majority of them, obviously there's some who are just, awful, but, like, the majority of teachers are out there, like, working for their kids. Like, they don't get to leave at 2:37, which is when my high school randomly let out. Like, all the students do. My mom would be there till 6 p.m. every night doing her lesson plans. Like, teachers are so valuable. Like, it's just so upsetting that that's the one thing that all governments, liberal and conservative, we haven't really seen it with NDP yet, go for it first, is cutting teacher salaries.
Yeah, always, every time.
Like, I really think that this sort of thing...
cutting nurses' salaries.
And nurses, yeah, health professionals, all of that.
Like, I really think
and, like, not even, like, it's always nurses.
Kind of shows off, like, the whole, like, I guess, the colors of all of these sort of governments really is... Because obviously the best way to avoid strikes, especially in the public sector, is to stop making their conditions so fucking shitty that they feel the need to do that. And not to, like, pass laws that say you can't strike, which is literally a thing fascists do, not to, like, overinflate the issue or anything, but it literally is.
It is fascism, it is. And, you know what, it takes a lot for teachers to strike. They put up with a lot of bullshit. So when they start striking, it's because things are fucking shitty. It's because things are unbearable in their working conditions.
Yeah. We have a couple more questions. Might as well get through them, even though we're running, like, longer than a normal episode at this point.
My fault.
We're already
it's my
longer.
fault. I'm new to this.
This is as long as
I'd love to be mad.
This is as long as the longest episode we've ever had.
You can blame it on me, as Akon said.
It'll be a little shorter once I add it. Don't worry.
That's true. It will be.
Question from friend of the show, Burgermeister. Does the system where you vote for your local constituent in order to extend a vote to a provincial or federal party make sense? Should one be able to vote separately for the local representation and provincial federal representation? That's mixed member proportional. And yes, it does make sense.
That's what we wanted to have brought in, but didn't get.
And we did not get it. I'm really glad that Matt described the exact thing that everyone wants. Just first go. Right, got it.
Yeah, that was a promise from the federal government, actually.
And also was voted, as I discovered earlier in this recording, was voted on by Ontarians in 2007 before any of us were eligible to vote.
Yeah,
they actually have it in Alberta, I think, right now. They have a ranked ballot system because back in the 40s they were trying to keep the NDP out, so they thought that all conservatives would vote for liberals too and vice versa, and then everyone put the Social Credit Party as their number 2 and it fucked up both of their parties.
God, Social Credit, that's just one of those parties that I just know nothing about because they suck.
It doesn't exist
and they don't exist anymore.
Yeah, they changed their name to the Canadian Anti-Abortion Party after they lost their last seat in the mid-2000s.
God. Fucking useless pieces of shit.
Oh yeah, because I mean the whole social credit plan is unconstitutional, so they actually couldn't do anything when they got elected.
Yeah. Question from Michelle Genuine Ghoul, friend of the show. I have an Ontario election question. Is Doug Ford actually secretly Rob Ford in disguise? And if so, will Andrea Horvath pull off his rubber mask on Thursday?
Yes.
I actually made this joke on the radio show. Not like the exact
joke.
They're
both fucking...
Did we talk about how, like,
they're both fucking ghouls. So.
Doug Ford has been slapped with a lawsuit?
This,
like, in the last... this was, like, yesterday. Or
he's been sued by Renata Ford, who's...
saying that she kept millions of dollars from her.
Yeah. Yeah, Doug and Randy...
I'm imagining what he did is he took, like, portions of the business and estate and has literally just been funneling it into his campaign the whole time.
Yeah.
And that he is, like... whether or not he wins, gonna fucking end up in prison.
I mean, I don't know if our listeners do know this, but, like, Doug Ford is absolutely the brother of Toronto's own Rob Ford. the
one
crack
Canadian
smoking
politician
mayor
that Americans can name that isn't Justin
And so,
Trudeau.
what's the point I want to make?
Smoking dumbass. Fucking.
Yeah.
Like it's that Ontario, as much as you want to spin it, because we have Toronto, it's a conservative province through and through, except for some pockets. It's a big business province, and in our province, apparently, people never fucking learn. We lived through Rob Ford. We lived through being a national embarrassment. Jimmy Kimmel, it was so embarrassing. It was so fucking stupid. And then they're like, hey, it's a great idea to elect his brother. Maybe they're different. Yeah. No, they're not. They're two sides of the same coin. It's so stupid. Doug Ford was... I don't care about... people have been trying to besmirch the media by saying he's slaying hash. That's the one good thing he did. Honestly.
Yeah, drug dealing's like the one thing that's like, okay,
I'm
cool.
like, yeah, you give me some hashtag for it if you still got some. It's fine. But,
I hate when politicians are, super insistent on denying the one thing that would make them cool. Because, what's Jagmeet Singh's brother, who is running in the provincial legislature?
Mm-hmm. Oh, the guy who had the fuck the police sign?
Yeah, he held up a sign that said "fuck the police" and he apologized for it. I'm like, don't apologize for it. Own that shit. It's good.
Yeah,
Matt, we respect the thin blue line on this podcast.
The only thin blue line I respect is Gumby.
There's so many I swear to God, there's so many secret leftists, full-on leftists in the NDP who always have to be mediating themselves.
Yeah, we can't, we have to have incremental change.
They need to be loud.
We can't.
Yeah.
It's no, fucking go full communist. Just do it.
Go for
Just
it.
do it.
Hey, Matt, when I eventually run someday, can you just edit me, Stalin style edit me out of every podcast episode?
I noticed that you said 2 words. Each of those words has 3 letters. I'm not going to say them out loud because they are curse words, and that will single-handedly get you barred from office.
I've said them so much though, now it doesn't matter.
It doesn't even sound like words anymore.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just
Emma. I'll tell you what they are afterwards because I'm
we are
actually barred
not
from saying.
All right. I
edit this whole
love
section
to be
out.
on this clandestine sort of.
Yes, if I say it, I literally have to put $20 into our Patreon.
Wait, seriously?
That's the actual rule.
That's the rule now?
That's the rule.
That's the rule.
Oh, one thing I want to mention, just as an anecdote, I was walking down, I live in North York, but I still vote with my parents' electoral riding because I never actually fill a change of address. But I was walking down the street the other day, and I saw a sign for the Liberal Party candidate on someone's lawn, and they had written on it in permanent marker, "Sign is under surveillance. Beware." Can you imagine being a fucking cop for the Liberal Party? How are you that determined? It's a fucking
I mean, they have one. His name is Bill Blair.
Oh, true. But, it's just
Got him.
Got him. But, but it was just the absurdity of it. I really want to take a picture, but I was like, oh, I'm going to be under surveillance now if I fucking take a picture. But it was just who is going so hard for Liberal MP Sue Wong that you have to put surveillance on the sign? It's just such an indication of how Liberals are so part of the police state. They're always the ones who prop up what's his name, the current head of police in Toronto. They're always yeah, he's not so bad. Police aren't so bad. Black Lives Matter are just they're just overinflating what.
Police are still banned from Toronto Pride, right?
Fucking thank God.
Yeah, since
That's
the
one
fucking
good
thing happened.
Thank God for Toronto Pride.
If they had any chance of coming back to Pride, they sure as fuck don't now.
Yeah. Yeah, because they were actively hiding Mr. MacArthur.
Yep.
I had to go off Twitter for 2 days the other day because someone I really liked said had this not all cops are bad discourse, and I was like, I can't get into this again. I can't get into this for the 15th time with a 15th different person. It's just it was about the pride discourse too, and I was like, no, all cops are bad. You're a gay cop, but you want to fucking come to Pride? Out of your uniform. Just
don't be in uniform. Don't have a fucking gun.
No. It's just not that hard. It's straight people have been... I've seen so many tweets over the last... This is so off topic, but so many tweets over the last few weeks about straight people being so offended that they don't have a place at Pride, and it's fuck
off and die.
Exactly. I endorse it.
if I were to go to Pride at all, it would be just like, to hang out with my bi girlfriend who wants to go to Pride.
No cops at Pride.
Like, I am not a part of it. I'm just there.
I need one of those shirts that says "No Cops at Pride."
Yeah, it's so.
Some might say the what is it called? That stupid American Horror show, the Supreme Gay, because Pride Parade always happens on my birthday. I have
Yes.
brought this forward to all of you. I don't get enough thanks for it, but it really is like, I feel that I have brought this all to you without fail.
Thank you for inventing
I
Pride,
did. I invented it. I was there.
I guess we do have one more question. I guess we'll close out with it because it's a good one. This is from Stephanie, Windfall Island, friend of the show. For election episode, how do you successfully sway a liberal into not being a ginormous coward? Is there any hope for ridings that have been solidly liberal for like 100 years? Answer the second question, really isn't. But for the first question, it's basically just try to trick them into caring about people, because that's really all it takes.
I think a big thing is that a lot of some liberals can be empathetic if you tell them that, like, hey, fucking not Harper, oh my god, I'm having flashbacks. Fucking Ford is going to run, another Ford is going to run your fucking province if you don't just suck it up and vote, NDP. Like, it's just, like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just, what was the question?
How do you successfully sway a liberal into not being a ginormous coward?
Oh, I think you just have to tell them that, like, do you hate conservatives more than you are, like, ambivalent? Like, I think that's really, like...
Unfortunately, the answer to that is no,
Oh, I
unfortunately.
know.
I think the real... literally any poor person.
No, they don't care, though. Liberals, especially neoliberals, especially Toronto liberals, are the most...
Yeah, but they don't talk to poor people.
Exactly, as I'm saying. So
you have to force them to
but
talk.
But you can't. They won't do it. They'll be like, they're afraid of, like, being, like, getting, like, poor cooties. Like, it really is the way. Like, in Toronto, like, Toronto people think of it as this, like, bastion of, like, multiculturalism and, acceptance. But it's like, Toronto is actually pretty conservative, especially in, like, the Bay Street areas, the suburban areas of it. It's actually a pretty conservative stronghold. I've seen so many signs. I'm actually worried about the amount of conservative signs I've seen in all areas of Toronto lately. Mm-hmm. I don't think that you can actually, if a liberal is arguing good faith, a liberal, if they want to call themselves liberal, should agree that they have more in common with the NDP than conservatives. But once you try to tell them to sway over to the NDP because say, like, well, let's avoid a fucking another Ford catastrophe, they're like, okay, but the NDP, they're gonna write a blank check and they're gonna.
But we really want to sell arms to Saudi Arabia.
Here's the thing: is I don't think the conservatives really are more in common with. Sorry, pardon me. The liberals really are more in common with the NDP than they are with the conservatives. I genuinely like. Maybe policy wise, but really they're kind of like I guess
it's like socially, right?
Yeah,
but what I mean though is like they need each other, right? Yeah, but like they need each other to exist though. Like it's to be pretentious for a minute, it's kind of like a dialectic. The conservatives have to exist for the liberals to continue existing because they each allow each other to, they replace each other every couple of years. And that way they keep coming back. But if the NDP wins, that disrupts that sort of like system that they've got going. And because if the NDP succeeds at being government, then the Liberals, then they, get voted back in and the Liberals don't get in for another year. But if the NDP fails, they replace the Liberals in that sort of, that sort of dialectic. So instead the Conservatives get reelected. So in both cases, an NDP government is nothing but bad for a Liberal, short or long term. And so I think that's the big problem, though, is that a lot of Liberals on some level know that, and you have to like force feed them class consciousness juice before they'll actually like be able to sort of look past the issue that the NDP presents them. And I think like they understand, maybe not in those terms, but I think they understand like the issue with the voting NDP right now in terms of their party's success.
But on that note, not to besmirch the NDP's name though, but My problem I have had with them in recent election cycles is that they are going further center right to sort of, compete with the Liberals. I feel like the more that the Liberals...
It's fucking dumb as shit.
The more the Liberals double down on, like, corporatism and, like, back-to-work legislation and, union busting and stuff, the NDP has to be like, okay, we have to be a reasonable alternative to them. It's like, no, go for your full-on crazy socialist, ideas. Like, it's like, don't kowtow to the fucking Liberal Party, which is, like, it's so embarrassing. Like, it's like, you don't have to move farther right.
That's the whole thing. It's the public opinion thing. It's like the only nominal policy that the NDP really has to do to keep in the court of public opinion is to continue sticking to the fallacy of balanced budgets, because people are always going to be on about that on every election, even though it's like, we run our own currency. Debt is fake. It's fine. They can keep spending on social programs.
Also, like, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say the NDP is some, like, socialist godsend that's going to, shatter this sort of, capitalist system or whatever. Like, I fully understand that they're not even as socialist as they used to be, and they never really were that left-wing to begin with. But I mean, like, in terms of the sort of cycle of the Ontario elections, they are definitely the outsider, and that's why I don't think... That's why I think that the Liberals would rather see a Conservative government, because it keeps that social political contract going where, everybody gets their individual 4 years.
Yeah, that's basically it. So, I guess we can close out this long-ass bitch right now.
Yeah.
Christ, this has been a long...
This is the longest episode we've ever recorded now, by the way.
Yeah,
really?
It is.
Yeah, by about 10
and
minutes.
We're still putting out an episode on Thursday. We're still putting out another episode on Friday.
Our fucking listeners don't know how much work we put in for them.
Yeah, we put in so much work. This has been Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die. You could follow us on Twitter at HKIPGTD or on Tumblr at hkipgtd.tumblr.com. We're also at facebook.com/hkipgtd, but that is literally just reposting from the RSS feed. We are part of the Noise Space Network, which I swear to God will be a real thing at some point, but right now is just where people can host some podcasts if I know them. Like, I'll even have ads for other shows and stuff. Like, one day I'll be able to do something coherent with this thing. You can also see us on Patreon, patreon.com/HKIPGTD. I'm not doing the full readout for this one because it is a bonus episode, but you get shout-outs on our main episodes if you are a Patreon supporter, and all Patreon supporters, all Patreon $10 donors can also listen in to our episode recordings. I hope this has been illuminating for the 3 of you who are there right now. Shout outs to Fruit Selector, Shout with a P-Tape, and Star for listening into this episode recording. A lot of this is going to get cut just because we went so long.
Yeah.
Also, though, if you get us up to $200 on Patreon, you can afford to kill one of the hosts.
Yeah, we will kill one of the hosts if we reach $200, and I'm pretty sure the betting favorite is still me.
Really? I was told it was me.
Oh, yeah, no. After the last episode, it's definitely you.
Oh, Jesus.
So, yeah, thanks for coming along, Emma. You are welcome on the podcast anytime you want to get mad about something. I guess we lost Emma.
Yeah, she dropped out of the Discord call.
Oh, well.
Oh, no.
Thanks, Emma, for joining us today. And I am Matt.
I'm Linus.
I'm Evan.
And this has been Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die. Not a threat.
Just a fact.
Just a fact.
Memento Pokemori,
Memento
everyone.
Pokemori.
Memento Pokemori.
And now here's the sweet, sultry sounds of Out for a Rip. We already decided that's
Yo,
the
yeah.
song.
I'm from the Great White North, right? Like up above the States. Yeah. The big landmass that the rest of the world hates.
Yeah.
We're like above that. Fucking north, I guess. The big patch of trees where everybody's bored to death. We're just chilling up here, sipping syrup, playing hockey. Before we learn to walk, we can cross-check properly. Just rocking plaid jackets. Chainsaws, we operate them right. Fucking A-right we do, bud. We cut our weight in firewood. Every 20 minutes or so. Smoke break. And if the Leafs make the playoffs, I'll fucking jump in the lake. Fucking buddy comes over to my place the other night and he's like, you wanna go out for a rip? And I was like, fucking right. Yeah. So we hop in the truck and hit the mud and I was like, oh, fuck yeah, bud. Just out for a rip, are you, bud? Just out for a rip. Just out for a rip, are you, bud? Just out for a rip. Just out for a rip, are you, bud? Just out for a rip. Just out for a rip, are you, bud? Just out for a rip. I come from the land of the polite, where shit's covered in ice. So when I'm down in the States, they're like, you're too fucking nice.